Now to a sport that's hoping to come out of the shadows and into the mainstream. I'm talking about the rather brutal sounding bare knuckle boxing. But can this backstreet sport really become more respectable? Well, this weekend a Yorkshire boxer was on the card at a huge event in London, and Johnny Ianson went with him.
I just wanted to test myself. It was, you know, some people like going playing tennis and saying how good they are at tennis. I wanted to say how good I was at beating someone up without getting locked up.
To its critics, boxing is a violent sport that can cause serious injury and brain damage, but its origins lie in an arguably even more brutal version of itself.
When I say the words bare knuckle, you'll probably think of gangsters and travellers settling feuds, but here in this room in Bradford, there's one man that's part of a group that's determined to bring it back to the masses and take the sport mainstream.
When the Queensberry rules were introduced in the 1860s, gloves were brought in to make fights last longer, and bare knuckle retreated to the edges of society. Recently, MMA or cage fighting has exploded in popularity, and fans say bare knuckle can emulate that success. Scott Pretty Boy Midgley is from Bradford and is drawn to the rawness of the sport.
Well, and it's bone on bone, isn't it? It's, you know, flesh on flesh. Even MMA, as tough and as rough as MMA is, it's still not bone on bone.
Talk me through your injuries, because you must have had some horrendous ones.
Yeah, I've had cheekbone broke, eye socket broke, tooth knocked out, fingers broke, knuckles broke, ankles gone, ribs have gone, you name it. I can't even think of a bone I haven't broke.
And, I mean, why do this? Why? There's so many easier ways to make a living or to test yourself, isn't there?
It's challenge yourself, isn't it? You know, when I got into this, we wanted to see how toughest guys out there were. We know what best boxers are, because you know they're the professional boxers on TV. We know what they are. I'm not going in there to test myself to say how good my boxing is, because my boxing's not on their level. I'm not going in there to say how fit I am. I'm not going in there to say how quick I can move. I'm going in there to say how tough I am, how hard I am, how hard I hit.
This is a serious business. Fighters train hard for months in preparation for fight night, which took place this weekend at a location that will surprise many people.
Well, this weekend it's been billed as the biggest bare knuckle boxing event in modern history. Thousands are expected to attend it live, and it's being watched across the globe on pay-per-view. And it's happening right here at the prestigious O2 in London.
Scott's opponent is Eric Olson, one of several Americans who've travelled to fight. And it's obvious there's no love lost between the pair.
You've never dropped anyone. I'm gonna drop you!
Organising this modern revival is Jim Freeman and fellow promoter Joe Brown.
We both went as fans at different events, in hay bales and just guys sort of brawling, spitting sawdust, that kind of stuff, and we felt we could do something with it to make it into a potential sport.
So how is this legal? Because that's the thing that most people will be confused about.
It was never made illegal. So basically bare knuckle boxing just evolved to Queensberry rules into glove boxing as we know it today. So we just take that as a standard that it's illegal, but it's not illegal at all. And there's no reason for it to be illegal. There's absolutely, you know, any argument that people would say to me, well, it's because of this, it's because of that, we can combat with another argument. And when you start thinking about it and you break them arguments down, then it makes perfectly sense for bare knuckle boxing to have a great future and to be a sport on the back pages of tabloids and, you know, on TV.
So tell me about the company. You are the only legal one in the world.
That's correct. We're the only one of us can. We're the only fully legal BKB company in the world. We have ambulance teams, General Medical Council doctors, trauma medics, ambulances on site, and all the facilities where you have, we have brain scans for the fighters. So all the stuff that professional boxers would have, we have that in place as well.
But as someone with no intention of ever getting into the ring, bare knuckle or not, I can't help but think that any form of boxing is fundamentally dangerous.
It's obvious to everyone who sees a bare knuckle fight that the risk of acute injuries, bony injuries, and I suspect problems such as bleeds in the brain and such like, well the risk will be there with fighting, whether it's gloved or ungloved.
Those in support of bare-knuckle boxing often claim it's safer than gloved boxing, and although there are no studies to support that, Mr Dennis says they may have a point.
What we do see with boxing is that actually, even though boxers wear gloves, the fights tend to be more prolonged, and boxers tend to sustain many more blows to the head. And during their career, if they're having long fights, 12-round fights, the sustained barrage to the brain, I think from a cognitive perspective, is likely to be worse.
Back at the O2, and it's near fight time, and scores are about to be settled.
The medical's done.
Yep, all done now.
Hour or so away from the fight. How are you feeling?
This is where if there's any nerves will kick in. Any doubts will kick in. You've got to start thinking clearly now. So this is main time now. But I'm all right. I'm cool.
In America, you know, you think of bare knuckle, you think of England and Ireland and guys with like the old like mustaches. They turn up and sitting there and just slugging it out. So for me, being from America, it's a treat to come over and get to fight people in this discipline, in this style.
Obviously, this tape around there is my daughter's names. It's just something, you know, when you're deep water, you're in trenches, you know, covering up, maybe getting a few whacks here and there, having a look at them just might give you that extra little bit.
Do you think about your family when you're in there?
Try not to.
But they certainly think about him. And watching in the crowd tonight are mum and dad. So what's it like to see your boy in the ring?
All right, actually. I quite like it. It's a bit daunting at first. The first one was quite daunting when he were fighting in bales of air. As you go in there, it's like, what's he doing? But once you get over that, it's fine.
It's awful. Look, it's awful. Of course it's awful. I'm just going to be sat up there, looking down, but not actually watching it. I'm not, you know, I'm not going to be able to. Stephen will be cheering on, everybody else will be cheering on. I'm not going to, but that's from a mum. No, that's me. That's me. I don't particularly like it. I just support him.
So this is it. Months of training, preparation and work have led to this point.
No, we don't like each other. I don't like him, he doesn't like me, and we're going to fight about it tonight, so it's going to be fun.
In front of 2,500 people and countless others across the globe, Scott's moment is here.
Seconds out.
Well, there's no doubt that there is an element of excitement to this sport, and there's also obviously an appetite for it as well, but at the same time it is bloody, it is brutal, and it is at times extremely violent, and maybe it's that will keep this sport on the fringes.
The fight goes the full 3 rounds, but after Scott was docked a point, he loses. And Pretty Boy is left reflecting on his place in this sport that continues to fight for its own place in the mainstream.
You know what it is? Johnny, it mentally hurts me because it takes things so personal. You get very wound up. You know, I'm an emotional person. Don't forget, I'm a little scallywag from Buckshore Estate. You know, these lads are ex-UFC and ex-world kickboxing champions.
Scott, thank you for bringing your face and letting me punch it in. And go to the hospital, get that son up. Considering I'm vile and I'm a Yank, I was able to summon up power from the depths of hell and knock his head off back to Bradford.
So just tell me finally about this sport. Everything considering the amount of effort you put in, your family here tonight and what's happened tonight, do you still believe in the future and your place in this sport?
Yeah. Not one person has ever beat me up, or ever proper beat me up and hurt me. Not one person in the world. I've been with the best in the world and not one person's ever beat me up. So yeah, I think my place in here, I'm doing pretty damn good.
But the question is, will bare knuckle ever truly be accepted? Perhaps the thousands of people that turned up to watch it this weekend shows that it has a fighting chance.